Minecraft, we have the Nether update, which is an upcoming revamp for one of the really creepy, desolate, sort of scary biomes within the game of Minecraft. So this was revealed during Minecon 2019, of which I actually had a video clip in. Pretty cool. It was the aquatic part of the timeline. Anyways, moving past that, this is going to be a big revamp for part of the game that has sat there quietly for a long time. It hasn't really been tweaked, it hasn't really been changed. It's a very bland sort of place. And it's always been known as a sort of like dark and creepy area. So we have an update today, just kind of details initially of what to expect when the Nether update arrives. So similar to like the aquatic update or the village and pillage, this is going to be one of the big upcoming milestones for the game when it does release. Now we don't have an actual release date at this current point, but this does appear to be their next big project. They've teased it, and as you can see in what's being shown, there's some video, and I have some stills just briefly a little bit later that show off just a snapshot of each area of this place. Okay, so let's jump in here. This is going to revamp the Nether. So the Nether you access by creating a Nether Portal. You do that with obsidian, and then you get to flint, and you use the flint and steel and the obsidian after you've created a portal shape. There's certain rules and everything like that, but I'm sure if you're, versed in Minecraft, you know all about that sort of thing. Then you step into the portal, and you actually load into this new area. It's very dark, it's creepy, there's lava, there's monsters, and now it's going to get something a little bit fresh. We're getting distinct biomes. So the first is the Soulsand Valley. So Soulsand is now going to have its own little area, and it's going to be just an empty sort of wasteland. At least that's how they've been framing this particular area. It's going to be open, cavernous. There's going to be kind of rocks coming down from the ceiling. There's going to be giant ominous fossils that are sitting throughout the landscape. You can actually see it right now in action. There's also the brand new blue fire block. So this is like the regular fire block, but it's activated when you ignite soul sand. So that's going to definitely be an interesting change up. It'll be neat to see what sort of rules are going to be present around that. So here are just a few brief screenshots, and we're going to keep rolling footage afterwards, just so you get a frozen still image for a few seconds to take a look at what some of the biomes are presenting. So going back to talking about the Soulsand Valley, it's going to be big, it's going to be a barren wasteland, and it's going to be a risky visit apparently. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of neat, mysterious thing to this, but it could also just be a very slow, dark, creepy, blue foggish, because there is a sort of blue hue in the fog around it area. Maybe we'll get some neat sort of builds and creations with people using this type of atmosphere, but for the most part it is definitely a little bit different. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of neat thing there. It definitely looks like a good spot to farm soul sand if you need it, or perhaps, bones from fossils, because there are many of those structures that are present throughout this area. So next up, we have another biome. This is the Netherwart Forest Red Edition. So the Netherwart Forest actually comes in two different options. There's blue and there's red. And I'd like to mention they may reveal new things after this, but it seems to be a general outline of what the main additions are going to be to the game with this Nether update. So that's very interesting. So here we go with the Netherwart Forest Red. This is a dense forest with swirling particles and a dense atmosphere. It's creepy, it's scary, it's kind of like a War of the Worlds type of red thing, if you remember the Tom Cruise one where it's all like viney and scary looking. It's kind of a little grotesque in my opinion, very red. It's just really, really weird looking, and it's supposed to be puzzlish. You can see it in action right here. So the goal is that you get these floating particles, these dense trees, and you're supposed to get lost in it. You're supposed to have no sense of where you're going, what you're doing, and that kind of keeps you just moving and meandering through this forest and getting lost. So the blue forest, the blue, or the Netherwart Forest Blue, is the other version of this. It's basically the same thing, but it carries a blue style as opposed to a red one. That's not to say they aren't different. It's got its own atmosphere and its own unique blocks that you can find. I'd also like to mention they've announced the Nether Fungi, which will be covering the ground in this sort of area. Very interesting new little block that you're going to be able to get. It's a twisty sort of thing on the ground, very creepy looking. So yeah, it's gonna be another area where you can kind of like move through it, get lost, and try to find out where you have a hard time getting your bearings as you're moving through it. And within these areas is a new mob, the Piglin Beast. Now this name is tentative. That means it could, well, that will likely change, they've said. So they want people to come up with a name so you can go and submit suggestions so you can actually figure out what this is going to actually be called in the future. Completely new name. Could be anything, but it's just Piglin Beast for the meantime. So this is actually cool because this is a type of food source within the Nether, the only type at this current point. So you're going to be able to farm these, but they are tough, they're scary, they're a hostile mob. They're tusked little terror, as noted, but it can be bred as a food source, so you basically, just keep it like maybe caged or something like that, and it's like the food source in the Nether, which is something we have never seen before, so it's going to be nice to, get some food out of it. I don't know if we're just going to get pork or if it's going to be some sort of special piglin type meat, but that should be interesting to see in action, and definitely a bit of a change up. It seems to just be this very strong, present, large creature that lumbers around. It's like a shortened elephant or something. I kind of almost wonder if they are going to do elephants one day. It seems like a logical sort of choice with the bigger mobs we're seeing. And their conservation efforts, kind of teach younger people about certain creatures. We've seen that with like the panda and the bees with the recent updates and/or / upcoming updates, depending on your platforms. And this is, I should mention, something that we're going to see on all the platforms, probably be tested in Java first, and then go over to Bedrock like usual. And that's interesting. And I do believe they mentioned that parity is going to be closer between the two versions in the future. They're trying to, at least. So that should be interesting. Finally, we have another new mob. This is the Piglins. So this is, the regular pig-type folks. They're going to be the inhabitants, the natives of the Nether. So these are what used to be the zombie pigmen. They've been renamed to Zombified Piglins. So if you find zombie pigmen, they're no longer that anymore. They are Zombified Piglins. Ooh. And they're another new hostile mob to Minecraft. There's also going to be piglins. So piglins are the regular version of the Zombified Piglins. So they're, regular folks, and then they can become zombified. So it's just like something you see with the villagers out there in the game in the regular, real, normal world. And these piglins live in the Nether. They're hostile to you and most of the other mobs in the game. So they could have some friends, I guess, because they say most of. You'll also find that they have small fortifications, like little houses, little buildings, little forts that they have, and these are called bastions. So that will be interesting to see in action. Eventually, a little new area to visit. Hopefully, there's some dynamic sort of generation based on where you are, because that was really cool with the village and pillage update in regard to the town. Regards to the towns you could visit and the different looks that they have based on the biome. So that'll be neat to see if that does happen. So piglins are constantly on the hunt for gold. So this is something that can actually be advantageous to you because you can wear gold armor and the piglins will completely ignore you. So you can just wear your shiny gold armor because it's been useless beforehand to just kind of be incognito. It's sort of like wearing the the creeper helmet on or something like that. You know what I mean, where you kind of blend in. Or the skeleton helmet. You know what I'm talking about. So past that, you go and, they'll kind of ignore you and stuff. But if you start going through their chests, then they will bring a piglin battle. So, yeah, they're not exactly friendly. They don't like you taking their stuff. Nobody likes it when you take their stuff. But you will also be able to kind of bargain and or trade with the piglins. So it's going to be a little different than the villagers. This is going to be called bartering. So bartering is a system where you're sort of trading things in order to get items. So that will be the main trade system with them. So think of these as creepy, dark, underground, atmospheric mobs that you are going to be able to trade and deal with and communicate with in certain ways. So it should be neat to see what people do with these new mobs and the new way they interact with the Nether update. I'm actually looking forward to this because I don't care for the Nether anymore. It's no longer a neat place for me, but with it actually having a purpose and being interesting and unique, this could be a hot spot to visit in the future. And hopefully we'll have some more details and more information as time goes on and we see what exactly this biome does have to offer. Let me know your thoughts on it. And yeah, that is the biome information available for now on the Nether update.